The party process of Minnesota's Democratic Farmer-Labor Party and the Republican Party of Minnesota, as it relates to the caucuses, are part of a long tradition of politics in Minnesota. The caucuses and conventions of the even years are handled similarly between both parties, so the information in this video is intended to be of use to both Republicans and Democrats in Minnesota. I will be covering the process in three parts. First, the organization in the even year that coincides with either a presidential or midterm election. The parties deal with their business by convention, and the conventions in the even year are primarily concerned with adopting the platform for the upcoming election and endorsing candidates. I'll explain what each level does in relation to those two goals, in the order of the precinct caucuses, the local unit, the legislative district if the local unit is a county, congressional district, the state, and finally the national organization. The second section will consider what the conventions do in the odd year, when some localities across the state hold elections, but when there is no statewide general election. The third section will consider special exceptions to what I have already discussed, which will be the decennial redistricting and judicial elections. The most basic way to get involved in the convention process is to attend the precinct caucus. The map of the whole state shows each individual precinct in the state of Minnesota. Some cities, such as Minneapolis shown here, are quite large and are therefore split into many different precincts. In this case, multiple precincts per ward. The date for the precinct caucuses are announced around March 3rd of each odd-numbered year for the upcoming year by the Secretary of State, and will be on the same day for all parties, and will be at 7 p.m. on that date. I will have a link to the Secretary of State's precinct location finder in the description of the video so you can find the location of your upcoming caucus. In some cases, parties may hold their own precinct caucuses in an odd year, such as the DFL caucuses in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and you will need to get location information from the party itself. If you wish to attend your upcoming caucus, you have the right. The only restriction on participation is that a person may only vote or participate in one party's caucuses in 1 year. No public agency, public school, Minnesota State institution, or the University of Minnesota may conduct an event or public meeting after 6 p.m. on the night of the caucuses without special exception. You are also legally protected to be absent from work to attend the precinct caucus as long as 10 days written notice is provided. The precinct caucus has a number of items that it must accomplish in the even year. Both parties will elect precinct officers and delegates and alternates to local unit conventions, as well as consider resolutions to be added to the party's platform. The duties of precinct officers can vary, however they will be the ones leading the precinct meetings. The number of delegates to local conventions are determined by each party, and they are the ones who will attend the local convention to endorse candidates and further consider resolutions. If you are passionate about a certain issue, you're able to write a resolution with the intention of getting it added to the party platform. The precinct caucuses will consider resolutions first. Party conventions do not have to be on the same day for each party, but there are some similarities between all conventions. If you are elected as an alternate or delegate, you have a legally protected right to attend the applicable convention as long as you provide your employer with 10 days written notice. Each convention also considers resolutions passed at the previous convention. If the resolution passes that convention, then it is passed on to the next convention in the order. Each convention also has the ability to pass and amend constitutions and bylaws for the level of the party that it represents. Although I will talk more about the constitutions in the third part, the conventions also have the right to elect party leaders, but this will be covered in more detail in the second section. If you are elected a delegate at the precinct caucus, your next convention will be the local unit. Each party is able to organize these as they wish. The DFL calls these units organizing units and are organized by Senate or House district and county line. In some cases, DFL local units can cover the same territory as in the case of the City of St. Paul DFL endorsing unit and the Senate District 64 DFL. The MNGOP calls these organizations Basic Political Organizing Units, or BPOUs, and organizes them by House or Senate District, County, or one for the City of Minneapolis. I will put links to each party's local unit locator in the description. The even year unit convention will gather to consider resolutions approved by the precinct caucuses and to elect delegates to the congressional district and state conventions. The local unit convention may also consider proposed changes to the local constitution. The local unit may also consider endorsing candidates for the state legislature. If the unit is a Senate district, both parties may hold the endorsing convention at the same time, that it considers delegates to the higher conventions. If the unit is a House district, only the state representative candidate may be endorsed, and a Senate district convention will be held at a later time. In the case of a county, a Senate unit will meet at a later time to endorse a Senate candidate, and the candidates for the House. After the local convention comes the congressional district convention. Both parties in Minnesota have congressional district organizations, which I will cover in more detail in the second part. For now, the duties of congressional districts focus on endorsing a candidate for the United States House of Representatives. In presidential years, the congressional district will also elect delegates to the national convention. After the congressional district conventions have been held, the state convention will convene with delegates from the local units, and will endorse candidates if there is an election. For instance, the state convention is held every 2 years, although the state executive council is only elected during the presidential midterm. In the case of the Senate, Minnesota holds a Class 1 and Class 2 seat, so when the third class is up for election, your state convention will not be endorsing a candidate to the Senate. It should be noted that the state convention does not actually elect the statewide party officers, who are elected by an organization that I will focus on in the second part. However, the state convention will elect statewide national delegates and alternates, as well as electing the presidential electors for your party. For most people who I intend this video to assist, they will not generally find themselves concerned with the National Convention. I will not focus on it too much here because these videos I intend to focus on the state of Minnesota. Needless to say, the National Convention nominates a candidate for president and to adopt the national platform every 4 years. This is what the conventions do during the general election years. In the next video, I will describe what the conventions do in the odd year.